Hey guys, today I have my blower motor resistor from my '04 Excursion. It decided to burn out due to the bearings getting tight on my blower motor. I've replaced the blower motor and it's time to fix this guy. Pertains only to the automatic HVAC systems, as these resistors are very expensive online and they're no longer available from the dealer. What you're gonna have to do is remove the gasket that sits around here and save that for later. And then you see where that transistor is, those two holes? There's going to be rivets in there. You're going to want to gently drill them out and then pull these two screws and remove this cover. You will end up with a circuit board that looks like this. Next, what you're going to do is put it into a vise. In this case, you're going to have two rivets sticking up over here, and these two legs are going to be soldered. These go to the transistor. What you're going to want to do is take a hacksaw blade and carefully go into the side like this and cut those two legs so that you could desolder it later. Once you do that, you're going to have to flip it around and remove the transistor. In this case, once you drill out the bottom tails of the rivets, you can get a screwdriver or a pair of pliers and gently work that transistor off, as in this case, and you will be left with something that looks like this. With those two big holes, you'll have two rivets sticking up. What you're going to have to do is grab a punch and hammer gently on those two posts until the circuit board comes off of the heatsink. Once you remove the heatsink from the circuit board, you're going to want to use a really big soldering iron like this one. This is a really old but powerful soldering iron to heat up these two spots here. You're going to heat up these two spots and remove the two old rivets that are in there and toss them. We're going to replace those with screws so that we can repair it in the future whenever it fails again, and if it fails. Then you're going to desolder the two legs there, these two guys. We're going to desolder those two legs and remove them. In this case, the pad came off of this leg, so we're just going to jump a wire going from that post over to the lower leg right here on this resistor, this area right here, as there's a trace on the other side of the circuit board that goes from there to that other leg. You're going to want to also clean up all the old solder with a little bit of solder wick, just to make things a lot cleaner on this side of the circuit board. For this repair, we're going to need a new transistor to replace this old one. In this case, it's a MJ11028. The replacement I bought from Mauser Electronics, and it's an MJ11028G, which just means that it doesn't have any lead in it, if I recall correctly. And it's a perfect replacement in our case, since it's the same amperage rating and voltage rating. On the old transistor, it has a little heatsink interface pad like this, but this one's worn out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put two pieces of heat shrink on these transistor legs right here, just to insulate them, and I'm just going to use some CPU thermal compound in this syringe just to go around just a little bit right here so that it can cool during its function. In this case, you'll end up with something that looks like this, just to help insulate it a little bit, and so we don't get any shorts between the two legs. Now I've applied a little bit of thermal compound and just spread it around. This will help dissipate the heat that is generated by this transistor to the heatsink. And we carefully drop it in there and position it, and give it a little push so that it sticks into position. And you should end up with it sitting just like that, with the legs sticking out. Next, what we do is we're going to position the circuit board on top again. Next, we're going to grab some 832 by 3/4 inch screws and put them in head first through the transistor side. It will look something like this once you're done with the new transistor in position. And we're just going to put a pair of stainless steel nylock nuts just to keep it in place. Once you get the nuts on, snug them down, but be careful so you don't crack the circuit board. It should look like this. And what you're going to do next is just grab a multimeter and check continuity between the transistor case and the screws, and then make sure that there's continuity between the screws and one of these large blade contacts. I can't remember which one. I think it was this one right here. But as long as you get a continuity ring between one of the contacts, you should be good. Then what we're going to do is we're going to solder these two legs right here. We're going to apply a little rosin flux to each leg and then apply solder. So once you end up soldering the two legs, in my case the top pad here came off, but that's not to worry because the actual contact is made on the bottom side of the circuit board. I checked the continuity between the leg here. Let me just grab a pointer. Between this leg and this resistor over here, I checked the continuity between here and here, and it did in fact make contact as the solder got pulled through the hole to the other side of the circuit board and made contact with the barrel that goes through. So we do have contact everywhere, and now this should function, but just for added measure, I'm just going to add one more wire that goes from this portion of the resistor here just across to that, just to make things a little more better. There we go. I just finished soldering these two legs right here, and we should be able to just reassemble now with our cap. I'll be back when I install this into the truck. Alright, I just finished installing it. It's located right here to the right of the blower motor. Usually if this guy starts seizing up slowly as dust gets into the bearings, it'll start pulling more amperage and it'll burn out your transistor. Same thing in the resistor block when you have a manual temperature selection or speed selection. Let's go inside and have a look. Alright, the moment of truth. Let's see what happens. Should automatically come up. So that is maximum. And if you can hear, it is slowly reducing down to a very low blow. And this repair in total cost me around $40 after shipping and taxes up to Canada from Mauser Electronics. Otherwise my local auto parts shop wanted $170 for an aftermarket transistor assembly, when it's only that one $20 part with shipping and taxes included. It is $40 at most Canadian for me. I'll show you again the part number and the bag. So there you go. Mauser Electronics, part number MJ11028G, 50 amp 60 volt bipolar power transistor. Alright, have a good one, guys.